Right, we're going through all these different mistranslations, and there are 40 of them. We're about ready to start number 26. And Murad has done a great job of going back and taking what the translators have said in the last 2 centuries, the 20th century, and even today. And he's looking and showing that they've mistranslated sometimes by accident, sometimes unintentionally, and other times intentionally with an agenda in mind. And they've made a lot of mistakes because either these words were embarrassing, or sometimes they would not jive with what the context was. But a lot of times, as we're finding out, because they're trying to copy what the Bible was saying, they're trying to ameliorate it, or they're just embarrassed by the misogyny against women. And so they're trying to make it politically correct, or you might say sanitize the translations so that they're more palatable to the modern mindset. Whatever the cases be, and that's what's fascinating, Murad has found out, and he is now saying, be careful of what they're doing. There is an agenda. These are mistranslations, and you need to go back to what the original author intended. And that's why it's so good to have him not only come here, but also to realize that when you take these words and you mistranslate it, and then you don't translate it the other way, you translate it the correct way later on, you have to be consistent. You have to be consistent until you understand what their agenda is. So we're going to start with number 26, and welcome back, Murad. Good to have you here again.
Excellent. And now I will share screen to continue this series. Right. So now we will look at example number 26. It's about the word بعث. And this is very critical. This might shock people. وهو الذي يتوفاكم بالليل ويعلم ما جرحتم بالنهار ثم يبعثكم. This word يبعثكم فيه, it's always translated as revive or resurrect. And the question is, will they stick to these words? And of course, I have shown these examples with some people, and they give me pushback. They tell me, well, an Arabic word could mean 2 or 3 things. Exactly, I don't have a problem with that. But in this case, this means one thing, and I will show you why. Here, it says, وَإِنْ خِفْتُمْ شِقَاقَ بَيْنَهُمَا فَبَعَثُوا حَكَمًا مِنْ أَهْلِهِ. This word ba'ath here is mentioned with human beings. And if you fear dissension between the two, meaning the husband and the wife, send an arbitrator from his people. Not resurrect, not revive. So human beings can do ba'ath? Yes, they can. Did that make the translators rethink anything? No. Why? Because they are blinded by the sin standard Islamic narrative. The word ba'atha is used till today in political context. When we say al-mab'uth, this is not the one who is resurrected. This is the one who is delegated. So the word delegate is the correct word for ba'atha. The Quran doesn't talk about resurrection. It doesn't talk about reviving. This is something that's very critical. It only says delegate, as if there is someone who is high, God or Allah, who is the master, and he delegates slaves. This is what it's talking about. So what do you think of this one?
It is send in this case. It should be. You're right. The one in 660 should be send as well. It should not be resurrect or revive. That doesn't make any sense. So let me just look at the context. And it is he who takes your souls by night and knows what you have committed by day. Then he revives you. No, it should be he then sends you there, and that a specified term may be fulfilled. So
it should be delegate all over. Delegate all over. Here and in the other example.
Okay, so it should be delegate, not reset, resurrect, revive.
Yeah, so here he delegates you, and also here, delegate an arbitrator from his people. It works here and there. This is the correct Arabic word.
Okay.
Delegation.
Delegate is the word you're looking for here.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that makes a big difference, huge difference.
It makes also theological implications for people who want to study my translation later, because the Quran never talks about bringing people from the dead. Well, it does at some point, but mostly when it says ba'ath, It's not talking about resurrecting the dead. This is a mistake.
Okay. All right.
So here, this one is very critical. It's about the word Jannah. Everyone knows Jannah is the Islamic paradise. But here, this very verse shows something uh, that's maybe people, they will go crazy about this. It says, وَاضْرِبْ لَهُمْ مَثَلًا رَجُلَيْنِ جَعَلْنَا لَأَحَدِهِمَا جَنَّتَيْنِ مِنْ أَعْنَابٍ. So جنتين, here what's it saying in English? Give them, O Prophet, of course, O Prophet, this is an addition. Give them an example of two men. To the disbelieving one, we gave two gardens of grapevines. The question is, this is a garden, this is a small garden. This Jannah here, Jannatain, are two small gardens. So can I own a Jannah? Yes, I can. This verse is saying just that. It's like owning your backyard. So why don't they have it as garden all over? This is the question I'm asking. Because a Jannah is something that a lot of people can have. They can have a backyard, front yard. This is just a garden. So here, when it comes to Jews and the Christians, again, they get blinded by the sin. لن يدخل الجنة إلا من كان هودا أو نصارى. Again, back to the old habits, they say none will enter paradise except Jews and Christians. But the problem is, we know that the word paradise is Firdaus, and it is mentioned twice in the Quran. So don't use it with Jannah. Jannah is just a small garden. Anyone can own a Jannah. This word has a lot of standard Islamic narrative covering that gives it a sense that it's much bigger or larger. It's not paradise, it's just a garden. So what do you think of this one?
Okay, I'm going to kick back on this one because what would be the context of Jews and Christians claiming that they will enter their garden except for those of their own faith? That doesn't make sense. Why would they say not enter their garden unless garden meant something bigger, meant something which is the final garden, which would be paradise?
The Quran, when it talks about Jannah, it means a small garden. That's why in another context it says gardens of Eden. So people think, well, the Quran made a mistake. No, it doesn't. The idea is Jannah is a small garden. So in Eden, you will have multiple small gardens. So here it should be just the garden. You see?
Which garden should it be here? If it's not paradise, what garden are we talking about here in chapter 2, verse 111, that the Jews and Christians have?
I have no problem to understand it as paradise. I just have a problem to put it as paradise here when it clearly says garden, which is a literal translation. You see?
So you want to keep it literal, is what you're saying.
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
Because this will make a big difference for the English speaker when he reads this.
The other thing is interesting because Firdaus, we all know, is the word that is used for paradise. Why didn't they put Firdaus here in the Arabic?
The word Firdaus is mentioned twice in the Arabic Quran. So when I say paradise, I only put it for Firdaus, which is only mentioned twice in the Quran. I will never use it again with Jannah, which is just a garden.
No, but what I'm asking is why did the author or whoever wrote the Quran not put the word Firdaus here? Why did they put Jannah?
This is something that I cannot respond to. But the Quran, when it talks about Jannah, it just means a garden, and that's very clear when it says Jannat Adan, meaning the gardens of Eden. So in Eden, everyone can own a garden, just like in this example, the previous one. Two people, one can have a garden of grapevines. So it's like owning a backyard. The Quran is very clear here. You see?
Okay. Good stuff. All right.
Now we will move to the word farj. And this is very critical. And I have seen this with Hatun Tosh in debates and speakers' corner stuff. What does the word farj mean? And here it's talking about Mary, والتي أحصنت فرجها. So here they say her chastity, which is of course a big mistake. The sin standard Islamic narrative assumes the word farj to mean the vulgar version of female genitalia. but the vulgar version. Now here Quran translators have it as chastity, so they also betrayed the sin. That's why when Hatun confronted people saying, what does farj mean? She was right, because they are not being faithful to the sin. They didn't put farj as the vulgar version of female genitalia. But the question is, will they withstand this moronic translation in other contexts? Let's see. The very same word here is used as a verb. وَإِذَا السَّمَاءُ فُرِجَتْ. So farj, furijat, same word. One is noun, one is verb. They say here torn apart, and the sky is torn apart, or when the heavens is torn apart. So why no chastity here? Why no vulgar version for the female genitalia? Did, did this verb version of the word farj move their emotions one bit? No, it didn't. It should, because farj and furjat is the same. What about here? أفلم ينظروا إلى السماء فوقهم كيف بنيناها وزيناها وما لها من فروج. So here it's saying that the sky has no furuj. So this is the plural of the word farj. The sky has no furuj. So what's going on here? This guy says, leaving it flawless. He didn't know how to, because he doesn't know the word farj on its own. So he says, leaving it flawless. But Sahih International says it has no rifts. The sky has no farj. That didn't strike any chord for these translators, as they never noticed that this is the very same word being used in different contexts. My question is, what does all these examples have in common? Farj, furuj, furujat, it's one word. The sin standard Islamic narrative would have you believe that the sky has no female genitalia in it. That's if you will use it, the standard Islamic narrative. This shows the absurdities of the sin. Thank God that the Murad translation exists, because this word, it just means a gap. Just a gap, an opening. So the sky has no gaps, and the Quran, Allah blew into the gap of Mary, and إذا السماء فرجت means when the sky was being opened in a gap. So this is just a gap. This is not the vulgar version of vagina. This is not the rifts. This is all just people who didn't open the Arabic dictionary. And I ask you, what do you think of this one?
I can see why they have done this. They're embarrassed by it. Even it's embarrassing to even bring this up. But really, what we're saying in chapter 2191, where Mary is being impregnated, the word farj should be, and remember, the one who guarded her gap, her opening. So we breathe
Yeah.
it. And the second one would be her chastity. It should always be her gap or her opening, is what it's saying. But it's too crude to say that. That's why they put chastity.
Yes. And here with the sky, the furujat means if it was being opened in the form of a gap. And here the sky, it has no gaps, because
No.
of course the Quran talks about the sky being a glass dome, and this dome is perfect and it has no gaps. You see, that's what's happening.
Okay, so it really is opened up. Mary was opened up so she could be impregnated.
Yes. Now
Well,
this one, yeah, this one, it's about the word deen. Deen always translated as religion, but here I don't know why they say law or religion, i.e. law. It says كدنا ليوسف ما كان ليأخذ أخاه في دين الملك. So here when it comes to the king, they say the king's law, and Sahih International, they say religion, but they say i.e. law. So the word deen, they are not really consistent with it. Does it mean religion or law? But here وله ما في السماوات والأرض وله الدين واصبا. To him belongs in the heavens and the earth, and to him alone is they say, everlasting devotion or worship. This is about the word deen. So when anyone talks in a debate, he says the deen, which is religion, tell him 1652. It says here devotion or worship. What's going on? يومئذ يوفيهم الله دينهم الحق. دينهم الحق. Now all of a sudden it's penalty or recompense. Well, the reality is that these people have no idea what does the word deen mean, because the word deen is not religion. Deen is dainuna. It's the same word. It means doom, like doomsday. Doom. This is what it means. But of course, they will never put it this way because this will be a huge problem. But when the Quran says Yawm ad-Din means doomsday, it's something negative. It's not recompense or penalty. But here, of course, when it says Inna ad-Din 'inda Allah al-Islam, then all of a sudden, surely the way or the religion for Allah is Islam, because they are faithful to the sin, Islam being the final religion. And of course, it's saying Islam meaning submission, not being a narcissist. But that's for deen. Moral of the story is that the word deen is very complex and they do not know what does it mean. And I ask you, what do you think of this one?
Okay, so what you're saying is that in every case, Dean should be doom. Or,
Yes.
well, all right. And so in the other places, they have put it down as law or devotion or worship or penalty or recompense or way of religion. In chapter 24, verse 25, it comes the closest to what you're saying it really is. Because if it's the doom of anybody at the end of time, then what would that not be the penalty or the recompense? The doom would be the recompense.
Yeah, but the penalty is not the same. Recompense is something that if I have done something right, I will get the recompense. If I have done something wrong, I will get my correct recompense. But doom is something that's negative. It's always negative. It's like someone being convicted of murder. It's conviction also. This is a correct word. So in Adina and Allah Islam is that the true conviction in the eyes of God is submission. Conviction, positive conviction. You see?
Let me go one step further. All right, so penalty is very close to doom then.
Yeah, but there is this word penalty in the Quran in another context. That's why I say it's not perfect.
Okay.
Doom and conviction is very good.
So when you hear people saying the deen of Islam, what they're saying is the doom of Islam.
Yes, this is if we are very faithful to the Arabic. But if we want to go outside of the Arabic and use the word deen, then you can get religion. So you will basically be shooting Arabic in the foot. But
Yeah,
deen in the Arabic, it's dainuna. It means doom.
I love that. I love that because that's exactly what Islam is. It is a doom, isn't it? Let's end on that note. I like that because in some ways you're bringing it all around. You've got to stick to what the Quran is saying, and really what they're saying is what we agree with, and that is the Deen of Islam is not a religion, nor is it a recompense or devotion or a worship. It's not that. Is it a way either? And it's certainly not a religion. It is the doom. It brings about doom. What a way to end this. I love this. These may are errors that the translators have done. Yet they are significant and they do create a real distrust in the way they're translating. So this is good because you've shown these mistakes. Many of these mistakes are intentional. Some of them are unintentional, but you're showing that they're trying to ameliorate. They're trying to sanitize. They're trying to make the Quran so it's palatable for the 21st century by taking out all these sexual innuendos, by taking out all of this misogyny, by taking out even that the Quran is or the Islam is a doom for mankind. So you can see why these don't look good. Or in many cases, they're also making mistakes by trying to impose biblical understanding for that word. And you showed many examples where they were using the Bible to mistranslate it. You're going to now go to a whole new category in the next episodes where you're going to look at the masking, there where the Quran is masking mistakes. These are real mistakes and they're masking. Can you just kind of introduce what we're going to be heading into?
Yeah, I will ask the people to like this video and subscribe because the next segment might be shocking. There are mistakes in the Quran. Some are scribal errors, some are grammatical errors. Of course, 100% of the time, these translators, they mask it, they hide it as if it was not there in the Arabic. So they will see some examples of that's going to be very good.
Good. Well, we have 11 more of these categories, and we're going to be going into some much more. What you're doing, and I think it's great, is you're getting to the more damaging ones at the end. So the more we go, the more damaging we get into, and that makes it a little bit more exciting. So don't stop. Don't walk away. You're going to get some real doozies coming up. This is Murad and Jay, then, thousands of miles apart. Over and out.